Welcome to this podcast from the Human Capital Institute's Responding to Leadership Development Needs with Speed and Efficiency webcast, sponsored by DBM. This event was presented by Peyton Daniel, Senior Managing Director and Coaching Practice Leader for DBM. To view the original webcast in its entirety, please visit the Talent and Career Transition Management track page on our website, www.hci.org. Is your organization demanding quick results from key performers while tightening the budget allocated to high performer development? Many organizations are finding that limited resources don't have to mean less effective development, even in today's economic climate. In this podcast, we'll discuss an emerging model of executive coaching that meets the speed and budgetary requirements for today's economic reality. You'll learn how to deploy it to impact both your organization's top and bottom lines.
Let's start by reviewing the current realities that organizations are facing today. And I think a lot of these will look familiar to you because, as you know, in today's business environment, achieving financial objectives has never been more difficult. There are fewer resources, tighter budgets, yet at the same time, the stakes and the expectations and pressures have never been higher. So, in other words, it's not an option. Business goals have to be hit. Now, secondly, we're continuing to see much flatter organizations as a result of the restructurings that have taken place. And so more people are working in groups. And when you add to this the fact that so many people are stepping into new roles, changing job functions, being faced with shifting business priorities, organizations are reporting that work groups are making slower progress toward financial goals. And unfortunately, that's coming at a time when these work groups need to deliver results faster than ever before. So the net here is there's a lot riding on teams today. And as a result, what we're seeing is that one of the most valued skills today, increasingly, is the ability of work groups to hit their financial objectives more quickly. But these realities have some critical implications for HR. And because at the end of the day, it's going to fall to HR to make sure the work groups hit their targets more quickly. Yet in the current economic climate, HR doesn't always have the ability to invest in some of the more traditional forms of leadership development, like an extended executive coaching assignment or a leadership classroom training. In some cases, these methods take too long or they might exceed the budget at hand. So there's a pressing demand today for new ways to balance the need for speed and efficiency with the heightened demand for results. So at DBM, we've introduced a solution that's all about increasing the business case for success. And I know that team development activities, as you just heard the panelists talk about, aren't in and of themselves a new concept. However, taking it to the next level of power, speed, and efficiency and ROI is new. Now, we call it team synchronization, and it's about multiplying the impact a team can make. Now, fundamentally, the solution captures the inherent efficiency of a one-to-many approach versus only a one-to-one approach. And it also gets the teams aligned and to the next level by doing three key things. First of all, it jumpstarts that important process of clarifying expectations and commitments. It makes sure that everybody owns it. And thirdly, it removes obstacles that tend to impede progress, that tend to slow things down. And by creating efficiency and increasing speed, you create a higher value proposition or return on investment versus the traditional solutions. So let's take a brief look at what's involved by looking at the essentials of team synchronization. So first of all, where do you start? Well, in most cases, you've probably identified a previously high-performing team that's mission-critical to the business, but in light of the new dynamics, there's been some challenges that have come up, and there are risks to the business. Now, in order to be efficient, the solution process is compact, it's fast, and purposely, it's quite simple. It involves the leader and the team members and a DBM coach facilitator. Now, as we'll emphasize a little bit later on, I just want to point out that the impact we found can be multiplied by ensuring you utilize an external coach facilitator who brings that appropriate degree of business experience and coaching and facilitation skills and that third-party objectivity, but we'll come back to that. And then there are simply two phases to the process. Phase one is about contracting, and that's contracting between a team leader and each member of the team, and that gives you that foundation for results. And then the second phase is accelerating action around the contract. Because I think we all know it's not enough just to be aligned. If you're aligned and slow, who really cares? So now let's break it down a little bit further and take a look at each phase, starting with phase one, which is the contracting phase. And it starts with individual prep work with the coach, where each team member, including the manager, prepares their own short list of commitments for results and expectations of support. And the coach also takes this opportunity in these one-on-one settings to interview each work group member about their perceptions of the challenges and opportunities the team faces. And you'll see that information will come into play in phase two. And the coach might also challenge their perspective of the issues, and it wouldn't be unusual they would pose some questions to really help net it down to the core issues. And then the second part, there's an intense facilitated work session. And what that is that's a two-part, two-way conversation that's facilitated by the DBM coach just to make sure there's alignment between the team leader and each team member. So now let's take a look at phase two, which has to do with accelerating getting the results. And we'll start with step one of phase two. And what happens there is that the coach briefs the team leader on the interview summary data that was captured during the first part of phase one. You may recall that took place. And that's just one-on-one between the coach and the manager. And that's so the leader has a window into some of the collective challenges and opportunities that came out that are on, within the team. Of course, it's not who said what, it's an aggregate. At the same time, a self-assessment is also administered that provides each member with some data about their team communication style. And then simply the second part of phase two involves team facilitation. Now here, the contracts from phase one are the backdrop, and they provide a clear understanding of commitments and expectations to achieve business results, as we've talked about. And then what happens is we first review and discuss the interview summary data, so we're looking at the opportunities and challenges, and most importantly, what that means to the team's performance. And then we explore the aggregate self-assessment data to understand, what are the current capabilities and strengths, and what are the potential obstacles, again, that could slow things down. So in that context, the coach then facilitates crafting a plan of action that's all about accelerating the business results. And of course, because everybody's together, that's owned by everyone on the team. And I think it's also important that we touch on some of the critical success factors as you approach team synchronization, starting with the characteristics of the coach. And I know the coaches are going to be a little bit modest about maybe telling you this, but it is really important to have the right person at the helm. In order to be successful, organizations are reporting these kinds of critical characteristics that you see on the screen, and it's all about the ability to draw on deep business experience and have that expert group facilitation skill set. The third-party objectivity I don't think can be emphasized enough, because having somebody external from the organization encourages that greater openness and allows them to challenge and ask some of the tough questions that get to the heart of the issue more quickly. Again, it's all about speed. And lastly, the ability to demonstrate experience as a coach, that adds greater credibility, because in many respects, what you're looking at here is an accelerated team coaching initiative. Let's just briefly recap the key points we've covered. First of all, the dynamics of business today, as we've talked about, this whole need for speed, pressure for results, and the inherent risks to the business that are involved, put the focus squarely on the ability of work groups to get the job done. Secondly, success involves building on the foundation of leadership development that you already have in place, and then taking it to the next level by implementing a business-focused solution that synchronizes expectations and commitments, and then which in turn accelerates results in an efficient way.
Thank you for listening. I hope you found this podcast interesting and stimulating, and that you will join us on our website, www.hci.org, where you can not only view all of our webcasts and podcasts in their entirety, but also explore all of our research on talent strategy, acquisition, development, leadership, and much more.